The world feels unstable because most people don't have a stable relationship with themselves. Welcome back to the channel, gorgeous humans. In this video, I'm going to share 3 ways that you can become more connected and strengthen your relationship with your inner operating system, your inner sense of self. Let me first just say we are absolutely living at a time in human history that is beyond anything that we could have ever anticipated, prepared for, or even understood. It's kind of like when the pandemic hit. We were so out of our depth, and there was so much adapting and learning and growth that we were forced into. And even though that time also carried a lot of devastation, it also showed how humans can shift and move and expand and adapt and learn and grow. To me, from my experience, and I spent almost 4 years inside of a healthcare system that was brutally impacted by the pandemic, it was a powerful, powerful experiential testimony of how resilient the human is, especially in challenging times. So this time that we're in right now, in so many different ways, depending upon how you relate to it, where you are in the US or in the world, this time is being experienced through you, through your understanding of what does it mean to be you, basically. What does it mean to be a human? What are your values? What are your ideas? What are your ideals? What do you believe is right and wrong? And then we are living in a time with so much technology and so much of our attention is being outsourced. And I want to share 3 things with you that will absolutely, if you choose into them, if you test them, if you try them out, they will absolutely shift your relationship, not only with yourself, which is the one relationship that is your longest and your most powerful, and the one you have actually complete dominion over. It will shift your experience of your life, of your world, because everything that's happening is being metabolized through your body, mind, and spirit. So the first one is to consider, instead of relating with yourself as a human with a soul, consider that you are actually a soul having, using, and learning from your human experience. That you actually chose to come here. You came to this earth school to learn, and learning is what you are doing. And every situation that you are encountering is about more of that inner growth. Yes, we are being challenged externally, but the thing that you really have leadership over, self-leadership over, is your own inner experience. But these are not things that we are taught. So keep in mind that however you are experiencing yourself in your life, it is not a character defect or a flaw in you. We are not educated, nor do we universally appreciate the impact of understanding the physiology, the psychology, and the biology of who we are, how we become who we are, and how all of that is literally our individual OS, and how that is impacting everything, how we experience our life, how we experience the world, how you are processing everything that's happening. So that's why I want you to consider, instead of seeing yourself and thinking of yourself as a human with a soul, consider that you are actually a soul having this experience, that you came here to learn. And what is available in that relationship is to untether yourself a bit, at least start there, from the attachment to the physical world, to yourself as an ego, because you're not just an ego. You have an ego, you need an ego, but that is not who you are. And when you are so over-identified with your name, your all the identifiers, your culture, your background, your religion, all of that is what keeps you stuck often. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it is very much a trap often if you don't have alternative ways of relating with yourself. So when you consider that you're actually a soul, and you come here with nothing and you leave here with nothing, which is true, then you can consider that this time here, which does go by very quick, is an opportunity for you to decide how you want to relate to this existence. And when you think and relate and orientate, is how I experience it, to yourself as a soul instead of a human with a soul, then you can start to have expansion and altitude and let go a little bit and recognize that there's very little that you actually do control, and that there is a start and there is an ending. And the only thing that you really have any real influence over is the quality of that experience, which very much comes through how you think about it, how you process it, how you decide to like let the story end each day about what all of it is. So if you're somebody that's really struggling, for example, with the political situation in the United States, I'm not saying don't have an opinion. I'm not saying don't move in that in a way, however you feel is part of how you want to stand for things or experience it. And if you are processing in a way of the catastrophizing of the overwhelming nature that a lot of it can be felt and seen, that is living inside of you. And there's actually not a whole lot that you can do with that energy that's beyond expressing and processing emotions, perhaps. And there's nothing wrong with that. But letting that hold vigil inside of you for too long of a time is actually how we create disease, because there's nothing there but energy of a contracted negative nature, and it becomes very taxing on our nervous system and our adrenals. And there's so much more there, but I just want to call that out. So this opportunity to think of yourself, to orientate yourself as a soul instead of a human. What might everything look like if you were to consider, for example, that you have a job or a business, but that is not who you are? If you were to consider that, let's just say you have a child and your job, perhaps you birthed that child, perhaps they're literally a DNA relationship to you, but that doesn't mean that they are here to become you. They're here to become their own person, and ultimately you don't have control over their destiny. At some point, they become able-bodied to be on their own, and they determine that. So there's all these ways that we've over-identified with our roles, but all of that is happening here, and you can shift and change that. And I'm offering you to consider expanding it. The second thing is a practice and a skill that has changed my life, continues to change my life, and it is such a powerful thing to incorporate into how you relate to your human existence, that it will shift everything. It'll change everything, and it will take pressure off. It will reduce suffering. It will humor you. It will help you become more curious and compassionate. And that skill and practice is neutral observation. Now, this is not something maybe you've never heard before, and it's not something that most of us do or are skilled at, nor is it something that's introduced to us as a fundamental way of relating with your world and your life that could give you actually a lot of expansion and space and altitude and insight and knowledge that is not overtaken by the judgment and the story, which is also what the brain has been. It's like a default setting, and I would argue that all of that is part of the conditioning that we've been doing for centuries. So neutral observation is when you literally decide to become a witness and an observer from a neutral perspective. And it is literally a tactical skill that you can learn and practice, and it's something that you do need to do, because it's not something that is rote in most of us now. So I'm going to share that with you in a moment, but I wanted to share with you a little bit more about how powerful this is and why. When you are able to be a neutral witness, before you go right into the story and the meaning making and the assessment and the evaluation, which is what we have been conditioned to do, because it's part of that limbic system, that our nervous system, that fight, flight, stress response that wants to make sure in every situation that you are safe, that you are not rocking the boat, that you are okay. But what's happening is that is based in a very old DNA-like setting of back in the day when people were being alert to threat could have been life or death. And part of the reason why we haven't updated that is because we haven't shifted some of these things that, like neutral observation, because you can actually train yourself to not react like that. But it is part of a natural piece of our internal operating system. And it's then exacerbated by all of the decisions, that literally thousands of decisions that you have made throughout your life, all the meaning that you made about every situation, consciously and unconsciously, most of which is unconscious, that helps you understand what's happening right now, what's going on, how do I feel about this. When you become aware that that is part of how the brain operates and how your brain has been operating, then you can start to notice it in real time, or notice it even in a hindsight reflection. And that's part of how I'm going to get to how you can start to practice this. It's just really interesting if you choose to be curious about it. This is not like a special thing to you. This is how humans have been evolving for centuries. And there are a lot of legitimately good reasons for that to happen. Like I said, to keep you safe, to learn how to use your discernment, to learn how to use your critical thinking. The deductions that the mind will do very fast, because it's kind of like, if you've heard of that reticulator activating system, it's part of that brain that once it knows something or is thinking about something, it'll start to find it more often, right? So if you have a deference to something, if you believe something about anything, you will find more things to help you affirm that belief that you already have. And that's what's happening. That's called basically a version of bias. And we do that externally and internally. So when you start to practice neutral observation, you start to create a bigger space between stimulus and response. And that space then allows you to activate the choice that you also have, that we often don't feel like we have because we've been conditioned to be very quick. It's not even always motion quick, it's just very quick inside. So however you relate to that, we all kind of slightly have a way of how we relate to that, consciously and unconsciously. But I'm giving you a explanation that I have a feeling you'll relate to in some way. So the way that you begin this practice is you have a pad, a tablet, a journal by your bedside. And I encourage you to try it for 7 days straight, or just do it for 30 days. It doesn't have to be every night, but as often as possible before you turn that light out and go to sleep, you just answer the question, what did I notice today? What did I notice about myself today? Like, how did I feel about this situation? Or like all the different ways that it could be, like the way you felt, the way you responded to something, the way that you experienced something. It could be an interaction with somebody. It could be a meal. It could be that you, like when your energy started to drop during the day. It could be like when you were maybe overthinking and kind of maybe spiraling about things. All of that stuff. It's not about, let me create the story with the observation. It's just noticing. It's just noticing. It's really bringing in that neutrality. It's assuming that you're interested in being expanded and how you see it. So you're just writing down what you're noticing. Eventually, when this becomes very much rote, you're able to do it in situations with people all the time. And you're also creating a lot less trauma drama for yourself, because your inclination is not to create a story, which often, that's saying around assumption. So it's like you're not going into that place as often, because now you've learned how to slow it down and dial it back. So that's the practice. And there's more to it. And, please subscribe to my channel, because you're going to hear more about this. And there's different ways. And I'm going to share even more iterations of how you can continue to expand this practice, and then what you do with that. But one thing I will say, so I'm not going to leave you hanging, is that you will start to notice themes. And I do believe that mentorship and teachers and support and guides are all really important. A lot of what I've learned and what I talk about has been reflected and guided to me in the teachers and mentors that I have had. And that is also what I do with individuals. And a really good coach or mentor or guide or teacher is trying to draw out from you, because the things that actually stay, that change us and shift us and help us and expand us and become lived, are the things that we connect to. It's the aha moment. It's the way that something comes and you're like, like you feel it, that ping. It's not somebody just a talking head. My point is that when you start to notice patterns and themes of what you're tracking, you will start to know what to do with that information, even if it means going and talking to somebody more about it. But I will be sharing more and more about all the ways that you can really incorporate it. And I'm actually working on creating a journal to support this. So that's the second thing. The third thing is probably less popular. Maybe that's why I left it to the end, but it's something that even I paused on whether or not I should share it. And I thought, no, this is the whole point. I'm here sharing something about what I believe so powerfully that has impacted me, and that is sobriety. Now, I'm not somebody that has a clinical addiction problem or experience. That's not part of like my life experience. And for many, many years, I had a conflict, an inner conflict, because of the way that I felt no matter how much I consumed, which for me was more wine, if anything else, with meals and that whole experience, a culinary experience. And I had the inner conflict, meaning like I would want to have that experience. And then no matter what, 1 glass, 3 glasses, it didn't matter. I always felt not great for not just the next day, but for a while energetically. So that was something that was lingering me for years, right? Because it's just so easy to have that experience. It's everywhere, it's social, it's all the stuff. When I started on my entrepreneurial journey and I started to recognize within myself and leading myself is very, very much important to me. And it's something that I have definitely studied and been very intentional with. When I made this choice of entrepreneurship, I identified, or I first made the decision that anything that I would become aware of that would get in the way of my ability to be successful because of all that I was risking and all that I was putting on the line, I was going to make sure that anything I was aware of that I became conscious of, that it was going to be addressed. And because there's so many things that we're not always aware of, right? We don't always see our blind spots. And there's been plenty of those that have been revealed to me as well. And it was very early on that I was like, oh, that's it. I remember hearing this, and maybe it was Tony Robbins, is that when we struggle to stop something or to change a habit, we have to have a powerful reason. That's what usually helps it stick. That is, I believe, something that Tony was sharing and something I was listening to with him. And that was exactly it. I wasn't able to stop before this, but when I made the decision, and there was so much in the brink, if you will, with this decision of entrepreneurship, it was unequivocal. And I just stopped drinking. So will I ever drink again? I don't know. Now it's been mostly over 2 years. I went to Europe last year and I think I had 1 or 2 glasses of wine, but for the most part, for 2 years, or at least I have not had any alcohol. And I don't feel like I'm missing something. And the reason why I'm sharing it right now is because I started this video talking about the times that we're living in. And that ultimately the thing that's really jarring you is how you are feeling to your own inner awareness, your own inner constitution, your own inner strength, your own awareness of really who you are and what you're capable of and how you can actually take care of yourself and attend to yourself. Well, because we're not taught these things like the inner operating system, as I mentioned in the beginning, we aren't really employed. We aren't really like set up for that. We are very conditioned as a society to be externally referenced, to go outside of us, to get all of our confirmation outside of us. And this idea that we might listen to ourselves, sometimes even like said to be woo. I mean, it's the most crazy thing to me because there's nothing more natural than being able to understand yourself because you are the only one that is in charge of you. So substances are they have like a momentary benefit, but they absolutely take you away from knowing yourself, from getting more deeply connected to yourself, from feeling grounded and resourced and just, yeah, there's so many different ways that I could express it. And ultimately why I'm bringing it here is part of these 3 things that you can do that will change how you feel about your life. It will shift the stress. It will shift the overwhelm. It will shift all the things that the rumination, all the things that come from that within you, because what's happening is that you're experiencing this world, but it's also coming through you and being metabolized, predicated on all the stuff that came before this. Like you're looking at your life through your lenses. So all the belief systems, all the unconscious beliefs, all the ideas, the limiting beliefs, all of that is what's metabolizing and processing and filtering every experience. So what's happening right now in the world is unimaginable. And the thing that you have the most ability to serve and to fix or to help or to improve is yourself. Because then you can actually support in a more grounded way. Then you can actually be more wise of what am I here to do and help. And I'm not saying don't support, but what I see that is such a challenge in our society is that people are just in reaction because there's so much pent up that's even before this. It's like giving people an opportunity to express and to have something, because we've been taught that we have to have something that's outside, yet we overlook ourselves. We are not aware that we lack self-esteem and lack awareness of our own worthiness that's inherent by coming here. There's all of this energy that's misplaced. And imagine more humans being more fortified, being more grounded, being more aware of their own inner strength, because it's referential, it's based in experience. That comes through intentional focus and choices that are then directional, just like every other skill that you have learned. All the things that are your expertise, it came from how much time and attention and experience and the hours and the focus and the education, all of that you put into all those things are what created that for you. Well, that's the same work and opportunity that's available for you with it as it relates to yourself and knowing yourself and resourcing yourself. I invite you to consider these three practices, these three orientations. The orientation of you are not a human with a soul. You are actually a soul having, using, and learning from your human experience. The practice and the skill of neutral observation, and how that is something that you can learn and adapt over time, and it can become part of your modus operandi and literally shift the trajectory of your life, because you will no longer be living at the affect of your response that's not thought through, among many other things. And sobriety. And you can look at your life. There might be something else. It may not be alcohol for you, but anything that is removing you from being grounded in your person, I would offer, is a choice that you are making that's in the opposite of what you feel and say you want, which I imagine would be well-being and peace and abundance and prosperity. All of those things come through you. They're not out there. They're in here. And when you start to feel them and experience them, you create more of that. And that's actually also what you see. And then you vibrate that. And that vibration becomes literally a magnet for more of that to come to you, and also as medicine for the world. When you are living in a higher vibration, everything near you is impacted in the most beautiful, positive ways. I appreciate you. Until next time.